Chris, you mentioned last week, after the announcement, you read 15,000 comments from the community. A lot of those comments were very negative, so I have to ask, are you okay? So one of the standout aspects of this pre-release, and honestly one of the reasons why I hope that it succeeds, besides the fact that I was a fan of the old game, is that you guys have been amazing with your community involvement. I mean, you're in the Discord every freaking day, grinding it out, answering questions, shit posting, responding to my shit posts, which, thank you. And that's like the only case in recent memory, or you guys are the only case in recent memory, where you brought on members of the community to assist in development. I mean, that's fucking like when I saw that you guys did that, I was like, they're trying to do this right. So this sounds kind of cynical. That's not something that you really see in game development, I feel. Maybe I'm wrong. If I am wrong, please feel free to correct me. But like, where did this community focus come from? And why do you guys think that we don't see that like as a more common thing?
A game is nothing without its player community. It just isn't, right? Like it's just pieces of paper and plastic and a pile of things. It's the players that make games interesting and the dynamics they have with one another. I believe that with like my entire soul. As he knows, like almost everything I try to do is focused on building a player community. And I know like, yeah, we'll hang out in the Discord and you know, sometimes we get love, sometimes we get hate, and that's just the way of the world. But I do think that like the intent is to make it a place where if you want to talk about Heroscape, you want to play Heroscape, it's a place to find people like you. I think I've made this joke before, but I think I have more friends because of Dungeons and Dragons than I do because of my personality. Like, I think just going out, playing, I'm a Chicago transplant to Rhode Island, and when I came here, the first thing I did was I found where Adventurers League was being played, and that's how I started making friends when I got here outside of work. And I think that piece of gaming is often overlooked when you focus too much on game design and not on the people who play. And I think if we can build that relationship, if that's what our real purpose is, and we should do our best to be as transparent and honest and active as we can.
Yeah, I mean, we're gamers ourselves, and we want to make games that we would play. And there are going to be situations where we get too close to a product or we get a little in the weeds, and sometimes those criticisms and those feedbacks, they give us a chance to kind of level set and take a step back and evaluate things objectively and make smart decisions. When we were at Gen Con back in early August, our executive vice president was with us. He had kind of snuck into the booth kind of unannounced and wanted to kind of see Gen Con. And him and I kind of walked the floor for a little bit, and we were talking about it because we both have history together as partners back on the toy business. And we were talking about the difference between toy and game. And, both of us have, multiple years of kind of San Diego Comic-Con under our belt, and kind of how the fans kind of interact and kind of how that atmosphere and that vibe kind of plays out in that convention center. And so the difference here, if you really pay attention, is when you're on the toy business and you're a fan and a collector of toys, you love talking about your treasures. You love talking about the lore and the intellectual property and the details and things of these kind of cherished kind of artifacts that you pick up as treasures. And you kind of put them up on your shelf, and you kind of have that pride in it, and you kind of share it with your friends. But it's kind of always at arm's length. In gaming, you do all of those things, but then the first activity you do with that is you offer essentially to play the game with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, do you want to come play with this?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, go walk around the hotels around Indianapolis right now. You see people sitting on the floor, just in the middle of like the entryway to the hotel, playing a game that they just bought at Gen Con. And that's what people are going to remember. They're going to remember those moments, those interactions, that experience they had with another human being.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes gaming so special, makes it so unique. And that just becomes one of those kind of North Stars that we just kind of adhere to on this team.
I mean, personally, and I believe this is true for Chris as well, we wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if it wasn't like that important to us.
Right.
the whole gaming community and the gaming world. That's why we took these jobs. It's why we hang out. It's why we're talking to you over
Indeed.
the internet.
Yeah, and it's an interesting quiet fact, but this Discord server, this level of interaction, this ability for Patrick and I to go out into the community and talk directly, that is not a thing across most of Hasbro. You will not find that on the other businesses. It does not exist. We have proved out, and Patrick has fought a pretty big battle to make this happen. To do this, prove it, make Avalon Hill a test for direct consumer interaction on a daily basis, and use those insights and use that conversation to drive the business. This is unique at Hasbro, and so a little bit of this is trailblazing to an extent.
Well, as a third party, it's working. So Hasbro, they're correct. Give them more money. Your grimace when he said how hard you fought for it, just said everything I needed to know. He's like, Patrick really fought for this, and you're like, and it was just, I could see the PTSD flashbacks of
it was a long time.
Yeah.
And a lot of work. And it's just because it's new and scary, but new is good. I love new. I like trying things too.
Yeah.
So while we keep up with the community, this past week you guys announced the polls section on Discord. So you guys are getting direct community feedback currently on the shape of the cards. A very divisive subject. Definitely something I haven't seen before. And you guys literally just mentioned how important the community is and whatnot. So how did you guys go about setting up the polls, and how did you go up? You guys just said, the Discord, the direct community involvement, that's brand new for Hasbro. So I imagine when you were like, what if we did a poll to let the community decide what they think? I imagine the bigwigs were like, what? So how did that process go to set that up?
We just did it.
Yep.
We sat down, we were reading comments and debating ourselves, and I don't know whose it was. It was somebody's idea.
Yeah, I mean,
it was just layout of because we were looking at those variations ourselves and debating their quality, and it's who would be good to add to this conversation are the people who are already commenting on the cards without nearly as much information as we have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it seemed to be a divisive subject within the community, and it was very hard to really find a kind of clear winner or a clear preference, because everybody's kind of batting around a lot of ideas, and everybody's very passionate about it. And so it got into a conversation of, well, why don't we collect that data instead of trying to fish it through random comments across social media. So it became this kind of opportunity for us to make everybody really feel officially involved in the project.
Be involved.
Yeah. And so already today, Rob, who's our principal graphic designer on Avalon Hill, we met first thing this morning and we said, look, where the poll is in a really good spot in terms of where people are leaning. Let's start polishing that concept of an OG Scape card, and in the meanwhile, see if that swings in a direction over the next 72 hours. Otherwise, we might have a solution here, and that's kind of what's baking in the oven, outside the door here.
And one thing, in Rob's defense, that I want to make clear is that the symbols on those cards were placeholder. So there was a lot of conversation about the symbols on those cards, and Rob turned to me, he goes, I was just putting symbols on to try it out. We were talking about the shape. And I was like, well, there's a lot of comments about these symbols.
Yep.
So I just want to put that out there. Appreciate the commentary. But Rob was like, oh my God.
Yeah, he definitely did. Yeah, Rob tried to read the Discord top to bottom.
Oh.
Which you're like, that's probably a
thing. You can
stop don't do that.
No.
So
there's no way to live, my friend.
No.
But it is producing results. The fans have been heard. I think they will be happy. And it's, like I said, it's an opportunity for the fans to feel, invested in this and involved. And again, that's not a very corporate thing to do all the time. So it's kind of cool that we're getting a chance to do this.
Yeah.
Once again, coming from a third-party journalist, worked on me. I saw it and I was like, fuck yeah, these guys actually care. I feel part of this now, and it was great. Well, more so than I already did. because you guys follow me on YouTube.
So
He got that in like 4 times.
Yeah.
I gotta, gotta mention it.